So I got to actually draft a kid that lived with us in 2008. I said, Steve, you need some points here. Give me something. If he actually blows it out, I'm not dropping him.
You can't let the Mets go. You got my man, the Salt Lift Cellulite, Bartolo Colon.
Boy,
I love Bartolo. There you go.
Opening day, he just got the biggest ovation. It's like grandpa out there. I expect him with a cigar at some point. You know what I mean?
Well, a cigar, you know, you want to go out and give him a hamburger and some onion rings. And,
if he strikes out the side, give him a hot dog.
This is 1-0 to the Phillies. This is the Mets anyway. The Phillies come in like 0-4, right? And they win 2 out of 3 from the Mets with facing the big pitching and the rest of it. Colon gives up 1 run, gives it the home run to 74-year-old Ryan Howard, who can still just manage to hit a ball.
Forgot he was even in the league.
And we can't score a run. Now, I don't know, we heard all that good stuff about Cespedes for the rest of us and the rest of it last year. $25 million a year for 3 years, overspent. I know it was for the fan base and the rest of that, but that whole clown thing with a different car, the Batmobile, come to spring training in a horse. We didn't win nothing, dudes. The last 2 times we went to the World Series, we lost 4 out of 5 games. So it's not like we're the 27 Yankees, who also wouldn't say anything. They would just go about their business, or the Yankees in the 90s to 2000s, you know? So I think that from spring training, the Mets are off to a bad. What kind of chemistry is that team going to have? Johnny's shaking his head back there.
The Cespedes thing, guys, really put a bad taste in my mouth when he came to spring training in a new car every day and then the horse. I'm like, what are you doing?
How much does it cost us to go to a game, Pat?
Literally.
And he's driving around and all this stuff. You know what I mean?
It cost me $70 to go to opening day. Guess where I didn't even get to go because it snowed out there. You know, I had to work the next day. I was irate. I was in Bridgeport when they called the game, almost getting on the train.
Okay.
Thank God they called the game there, or I'd be in New York just swearing at a bar somewhere.
Oh, they actually kind of, they did it earlier this year. They
thank goodness.
All the way into the stadium,
Thank goodness.
This is a Yankee fan over here, so you got the full spectrum here.
But the thing with Cespedes is, even in spring training, when he just sat there and let the ball go right under the thing and was talking to the young, here's an idea. Put your hand underneath the wall, get the ball and throw it in. Oh my God, it's under it. Stop doing it. You're getting paid $25 million. Do the thing. That's what gets me so mad, is these players take the money and throw it away on stupid crap. Like the cars and the horse.
I love when the umpire went out there and picked the ball up to show him up for
literally.
his business, because it wasn't even under the wall. You're right. He was sitting at the base of the wall. I mean, that's in play. You can get the ball.
I'm still amazed you guys signed him, though, after his horrible postseason. Horrible postseason. He pretty much cost you the series after he let that ball go. Literally. I was just like, I don't know.
Well, he reminded us against Kansas City in the first out that he still got it. Where I guess he took his glove out of the bag like 2 seconds beforehand. And for $25 million, you can catch a line drive in life.
At $25 million, you should be able to run from one side of the field to the other and catch a fly ball.
Exactly. Cover the entire alley.
I haven't been to a World Series since '83. I'm listening to all this. Now I know it's been a doubly tough week because he lost to Brickshaw Ferguson this week too on the Jets.
All right. Well, we're going there. I like that. I saw the movie Concussion. Did you see it yet?
I did not.
I did not.
I can't remember.
Nice.
It is stunning. It is disheartening. It is. You don't like football as much afterwards as you liked football. Now, every movie is slanted a certain way.
Yes.
Like this was made for the doctor's view from Nigeria and the rest of it. So I understand. They made the NFL look a lot worse than they probably were. But I'm glad Ferguson is getting out after 10 years while he has a brain. I never realized that the entire movie, and I won't give you it's about concussions, you know what it is, but it's about the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's about
Mike Webster.
And you know, it's an actor that used to be on Law and Order and stuff like that, who plays him and does a brilliant job with him. But the fact that this guy, actually discovered and named CTE, the brain injuries, so many of these players just ended up committing suicide. For him to say, and a lot of the NFL is trying to discredit was, hey, you're from Nigeria. He was a guy who did autopsies, so they didn't even give him credit. But he was like, why is this man who's 50 years old gone mad? For no other reason. He's still in good shape. But he had great examples of like our brain versus every other animal on the planet has nothing protecting it. It just floats around in water, right? So every time it hits something, we're banging against the side. So I think Mike Webster had something like 250,000 or some odd general hits throughout his entire, starting when he was peewee all the way up, till there. And I mean, the NFL did everything possible, and you do this from not just from the movie, but in fact, it's such a big industry that to discredit this guy, they got the biggest lawyers in the world. You know what I mean? His wife was being followed. Come on, this is right out of the Godfather kind of stuff. You're protecting the biggest corporation in the world with one of the biggest unions in the world. So, and I didn't realize there was so many Pittsburgh Steelers, you know, that ended up killing themselves. And eventually, it was a player rep, I think it was from Dave Dewerson, was a player rep. I think it was either Philly or the Dolphins. He's a guy that in the beginning is so adamant to say, get out of here, you're a clown, this is my sport. Well, he gets CTE and goes mad. And he doesn't understand it, so he writes it down and he shoots himself in the heart. And he writes on the note, check my brain. Because so many of these guys, Junior Seau was one of the more recent.
I don't think it's a severe case. I believe Tony Dorsett has come out and said he's got symptoms. And he got out pretty early for the Cowboys, so, you know, so.
You know, you look at somebody, my wife is a big Steeler fan, and we want to go to Heinz Field this year and see Roethlisberger before he goes. How many times has that kid's brain been fried? You know what I mean? So while they're in their 30s now, what the heck is it going to be like, you know, when they're 50? We see it anywhere from like the Warriors in Torrington, the smaller group, where they're trying to teach them a little differently how to tackle, but football is still football. How often did we have those highlight films with the 10 greatest hits of the week? Right, where somebody would spearhead, just, you know, the more violent the hit, the more we love this. So it's a double-edged sword. But if Thomaston had football, if you and Mrs. Wilson, I just thought of this, let him play football.
Probably a discussion we would have to have. It's never one that I had to have because coming from a small town, there's no Pop Warner. I would have had to send him to Torrington or to Watertown. Since then, he's older now, he's fallen in love with soccer, so it's never a decision that we've had to. At the time, I probably would have. You know, because he's 16 now. If he started playing, when did they start playing Pop Warner? 7 or 8 or something. This was just starting to come out. I probably would have, but I would have second thoughts now for sure.
What about you? Down the line.
See, I played, so if I would.
This explains the hyperness already, right? Is that what it is?
And I'm getting into it
We'll
now.
get that, Jamie.
I'm getting into it, but I would. When I was in high school, you really saw the whole turnaround of trying to tackle safer and all that, and then now they've taken away the number of days that you can actually hit in practice, which I think is good. Granted, I hated defense, so it didn't matter to me. I was a more offensive guy, but I think it's good. They're really making the steps, and this whole thing, like talking about the movie, has really brought up in front of us a real issue. Brett Favre even says he has nights where he's like, oh, what am I doing? And we all know Brett Favre, he got smacked like crazy.
So do I, and I didn't play for it. I don't know what the heck's going on here. I mean,
About 20 minutes ago.
I think the high school game and all that, they're doing the right things. But what I would tell a parent now is it's football. You always have that opportunity or that option of maybe something happening that you don't want to, maybe a wrong hit, something. It's a contact sport. Stuff like that happens. You could tear your ACL in soccer. Talking about soccer.
well, and also,
you could go
a couple of
live.
years ago, I saw a couple of statistics where not the brain injury, that's what we're talking about, but there were more injuries in soccer than there were in football because you're non-stop. And, you know.
And that's a lot of people forget, which other sports, baseball, we've seen many pitchers take it off the head. Like you said, soccer, going against each other when you collide. It's a contact sport. It's going to happen. Unfortunately, there are those instances where people do get really hurt. But at the same time, me personally, I think I'm a better person now playing football than I was before. That's just my
Well, and
opinion.
again, it's the teamwork. I mean, you grew up were you with the program when Jamie first started?
Yes, we were the first graduating seniors in that program.
Okay. Nick Reardon?
Yes, he was a year ahead of me. That was awesome.
The Nick Reardon
Yes.
story.
Oh,
I have
that
to
was
tell it.
fantastic. Oh, it was the greatest thing in the world.
A young man comes down with the worst kind of cancer a teenager would
Yes.
come down with, testicular cancer, and against a game against Avon. Nick never got into the game, and he was still undergoing treatment and the rest of it, so they didn't want to take any chances with him. But Jamie Cody and the head coach for Avon got together and said, he's going in, let him score. But Avon did it so well, where it wasn't that normal fall down, let the kid go. And Nick had no idea.
No, he didn't know.
First of all, he was like, why am I going in a running back? I'm a linebacker. You know what I mean? And you know, he went in, he got the handoff. He had no idea what the heck the play was from what coach had told him.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was a lot of fun. I was able to be on the field. I was on the opposite side. He ran to the right. I was on the left. But just seeing him run down and all the trouble and all the pain that kid had to go through with the cancer, it was just an awesome moment. They were kicking the living out of us at that point. Avon was a fantastic team that year. They played, I believe, Berlin in the in the playoffs down at Muzzy Field. We went down there to see it. But it was just an awesome experience. It was really cool being with him. He was a cool kid.
He was
an awesome guy.
Regular down at Tony's Coffee Express with Lisa. His mom.
He's just an awesome guy. It was really cool to see him, and he made it through, which is awesome.
Right.
And I think that just gave him a shining moment in a time where he needed to fight and have something to fight for.
HBO did a special on.
He went to ESPN. He was on ESPN, which was so cool.
Yeah, had a lot of, and I remember afterwards, they had the dinner at Local Tech. And
the pasta
showed up. Avon shows up with a busload of players and busload of fans. They all bring food in. And one of the biggest expressions that I don't like hearing in high school anymore is that I believe that we will win cheer. I think it's old. But they did, because I'm spoiled in one way.
Okay.
They did, I believe that Nick will win.
Yeah,
and that blew me away. It was all done. Because after that, it was forget about it.
Yes.
It was a great story of, what Jamie did and with the coach. Give that kid a moment where, the rest of what he had to go through, was not good. But he's healthy as a horse. Mom said just driving him nuts as any kid your age now.
She always
like
did.
24?
Yeah.
24? Yeah, just driving her crazy, which is just exactly what we have. But this is why I think sports is so important. It's taught you the discipline. It's taught you what, teamwork was about. And we'll go to our last, topic, because we got 10 minutes left here, where we got 10, 15, 20. John's over there. He's playing auctioneer. 20, 25, going. Mr. Wilson, 50. Take the ball.
You happen to have 15 minutes left. I'm sure you can talk to them.
God just spoke again. We like it. What almost happened in Torrington a couple of weeks ago, where for the first time, even though we hear it every year, serious discussion was being given, and we've got a Board of Ed member on the other side of the camera too for Litchfield, so you'll understand this, saying that let's seriously consider eliminating spring sports at the high school. Now, every year we hear pay for play, let's cut the middle school sports, let's cut this and that. Well, I had gotten a call, from Mike McKenna, and was talking to somebody on the board that said, well, they have a different look in their eye this year. They're, out of the 10 members, only 2 of them said that they would never consider. Everybody else said, hey, it's on the table. Torrington was $272,000 in the hole, had to really make it up in a hurry. The day of the meeting, the Board of Ed meeting, they discovered they had a $400,000 mistake. So actually it was $1.2 million that they were behind in the first 5 minutes of the meeting, which wasn't really good. So I did a story, on just what the ridiculous would be of cutting an entire program. I called Rick. I'm like, Rick, do you ever hear of this? I called Mike tomorrow. Mike, did you ever hear of anything like this? Called the guys from the CIAC. Have you ever heard of anybody actually cutting a program? And they're like, no, it hasn't happened. McKenna didn't know what kind of penalties he might face.
Not the whole program.
Right, the entire season, because of the travel nightmare, the scheduling nightmare, the Don Sabia, baseball player for Torrington. It's his junior year. This is money year. This is the year he needs to impress to go to school. Like I said, every year we hear we're going to cut something, but this year just seemed to be a little different. So we used the power of media in a good way, where we got an email campaign going that following morning, where the Board of Ed had heard from one person at 8 o'clock in the morning. By 5 o'clock, the time of the meeting, they had heard from 45. 43 of them were talking about, are you crazy, trying to cut high school sports. The other 2 were talking about East School, which they were going to close also, saving $1.1 million. But closing a middle school is also not, a grammar school is not anything that should be taken lightly either. 75 to 125 people, 75 inside the library at Torrington High School, another 50 outside waiting to get in to this Board of Ed meeting. And for once, there was a limit of how many people could come in the room, which was rather strange, because there's normally never a limit of how many people could come in the room. So I think I know where that came from. But nobody left. And for the first time ever, big Walking Dead fan here, okay? I heard a reference to The Walking Dead, because it looked as if all the people on the glass out there were going to start banging their heads and trying to get in Walking Dead style. And I believe it had an effect. The program spring sports was not cut. Very proud of a lot of the kids like Sabia and company who showed up at this meeting with a lot of parents and the rest of it, just to say, You know, you're a senior in high school at Woken Tech. You have no spring season. Your friends are never going to believe that 5 years down the road. They're just going to think you didn't want to play there.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So, a program being cut. Thoughts, Mr. Wilson?
Well, first of all, I think it's an absurd suggestion. I've heard a suggestion of cutting one single sport or something. And sports is not a holy grail as compared to, it doesn't mean you can't ever touch sports, but it is part of the educational process. If I was ever in a community where that was done, I would immediately start a petition to have the Board of Education removed. Okay, because that to me is totally irresponsible. It's totally irresponsible to be brought up in that kind of regard. And nice to see Torrington proactive, and nice to see senior heads prevail. But get your ship in order.
And you know,
And start, you know,
what I wrote is that the kids are not $272,000 the whole year. So it's not on the backs. And to what Mike McKenna had told me, it was only between $70,000 and $100,000 you're going to save anyway. And 250 more kids that would have played spring sports would have just been floating around doing nothing. Or the following year, a kid like Sabia's going to St. Paul or he's going to Holy Cross, you're going to lose him in general. Torrington loses probably 100 kids from their middle school to the high school that just don't go. Now, how much would have this been a deterrent also? Where now a parent is like, hey, well, they might start cutting sports. So you're right, even by suggesting it, some of those parents at the middle school, which right now sometimes have a hard time sending their kids, and say, well, they might mess with sports too.
well, like you said, sports is not untouchable, but sports is not extracurricular, it's co-curricular. And when I say that, I'm not talking about you're taking sports ahead of the math program or the science program, but it is part of the educational process. It's not some extra that you throw in there. And let's be perfectly honest, we're sports guys, but I'm also a teacher. And I've been working in the field of education a long time. And I'll be the first one to tell you that there's a lot of kids that have played on teams that have probably learned more life lessons than they have in some of the classes. And let's be honest about that. So sitting here throwing sports back at people and saying it's extracurricular, it can be touched, but you got to put things in its proper perspective.
And you know, a lot of times the reason why Johnny is getting up and going to school is because he's got practice that afternoon.
Yes.
And it's a no.
Jack Mahoney at Housatonic used to say, if I can use sports to help a kid get through school, I will, and he did it all the time. When I'm having difficulty with a student, I got some good coaches, and they have more say with these kids because of the importance of sports than a lot of the administrators do. So,
Well, we talked on my show when we talked about this for a good, we talked about it for a good 40 minutes, I believe. Yep. Like you said, kids using sports to get through school. It also keeps kids out of trouble, where they're not walking the streets of Torrington or the streets of another city or other and trying to find trouble, or trouble finds them. It keeps you in a generalized place and keeps you out of trouble because you know if you screw up, you might not play the next game. And who wants to sit out a game on suspension? Nobody does.
And you got to go to school that way.
Yes.
the value of sports
And you'll
is
be in school,
let's
you'll be doing
stop
what you're
talking
doing.
about cutting the whole
Yes,
world.
which I agree with you. It's a totally absurd thing to talk about because you learn more life lessons sometimes in sports. Team cohesion, learning to play with other people, discipline. You can't get that anywhere else sometimes.
You know, when I drove to the meeting, there was the reason why there was so much concern is that it originally on a Monday night meeting was said that there would be a budget meeting between 5 and 6, and whatever was decided there could not be changed at the regular Board of Education meeting. So if they had decided to cut sports between 5 and 6, they had said that's going to be rock solid, so we can't do anything about it. So that's why we needed everybody there at 5 o'clock, because it was what was said, and I agree with John shaking his head as a board member saying that's insane. Nothing was decided that night. No budget has been fixed yet, but spring sports is now almost halfway through, so it's you
Well,
can't
it's
do
like I
anything
said,
about
I
it.
mean, you know, senior heads prevailed, and
Well, when I drove in Channel 30 was sitting at the end of the parking lot, because there was some kind of rule that television stations cannot actually be on school property while school is in. That's something.
probably to do to kids' privacy. I wouldn't be
Makes sense.
surprised. I'd have to go look it up, to be honest with you, but that wouldn't surprise me.
So they're sitting at the end of the parking lot, so I go up to and hand them my card and I say, what are you guys doing here? They said, well, we're here because of your story. Because to the news networks, Torrington cutting sports is a big story, but for all the wrong reasons. And for the reasons I didn't want to have happen. I'm glad they paid attention and brought attention to it, but during the middle of the meeting, the one person is texting me like, well, is there still a chance they'll cut it? And I'm like, no, and stop wanting them to. Because the sexy story is cutting sports. They decided, like you said, cooler heads prevailed is not really a great story for the dudes. So, we managed to maintain. Gonna have to get money somewhere. I understand that. Money just doesn't grow on trees. And Board of Education, as I know in Torrington, maybe it's the same in Litchfield. If whatever is not taken care of, you're personally responsible for. That's a big nut to carry. $272,000 is a couple of bucks per person coming out there. So I'm glad that nothing happened with that. Got a couple minutes left, Mr. Wilson. What else you got? What do you got off the cuff?
A couple of things. We did a little football. It seems like a while ago, but basketball's only been over for 3 weeks. Hats off to Northwestern and Manawak boys for winning the boys titles this year. Did a really good virtually championship in Manawak. Finally won the third game we went to. Fun game to watch. I guess we can't get through a basketball season without mentioning the girls. You know what? For the first time in a long time, it wasn't their day. And a lot of credit to Canton coach Brian Medeiros. He prepped all year after losing to Thomaston last year. He brought his team down on Friday night after watching what Thomaston did. He knew the title went through Thomaston. He said that. He scheduled teams he knew he'd probably lose to because that's what we prepped him. His two players, Emily Briggs and Maggie Tracy, showed up and were very, very big time. And they were hungry, and it was their day, and credit to them. Thomaston.
Softball still gets to come.
Well, but they were disappointed. A couple of things. I thought they handled it well. Was disappointed. This out of the last 3 years was the one that they really thought that they were the better team.
Yep.
4 consecutive state title appearances, 2 state titles. The other 2 they lost to Prep in here. Some things didn't go well. Foul trouble. Not a particularly well officiated game. They had some illness during the week. None of which they used for excuses. But you know what? That team played for 12 titles in 4 years and won 10. What are you going to do?
And they got one more shot.
They got one more shot. They've played for 26 titles in 4 years. They've won 15 in 3 different
Kids got a lot of rings
sports.
like Gino.
In 3 different sports. They're going to get a battle in the Berkshire League, the logo. They see the logo tomorrow with Serena Zamanis, very good pitcher. They're going to have to be some kind of capper on that group. They've got 3 kids there that have played in 7 state title games in 2 different sports, and we'll wait till the end of the year. But nice basketball season for them. Holy Cross got to the semis, so we got some things there that.
And also, remember back with field hockey, the kids that won their state championship, but they appeared on the Cable 5 show, all with identical LL Bean slippers. All right, so
Yes,
these kids, and they were golden hair from top to bottom. These kids are almost like their opposing coach is like, congratulations, you're finally graduating, right? Because they're like 5-year seniors this season.
Well, I know when they scrimmaged Torrington in softball right before the season started, and we were talking about Allie Dubois. Now, Allie's a terrific pitcher. She's a pitcher.
She's a picture.
But Allie's a pitcher. But Allie is one of those, she focuses on softball, that's why she's got a college scholarship already and this and that. The point I made to somebody else is, yeah, she's terrific. I said, but those kids were playing for a state championship 5 days ago. Right. And then they played for another one 5 days. So it's a different kind of dynamics there, but what a wonderful ride it's been for them. We'll cap this off in June, but they got some softball hopes and ambitions that they were finalists last year. We'll see what happens with them.
How about, how many kids in the school now?
106 girls, 247, I think.
It's like the front row of my senior class, my goodness. And to have that many great athletes come out.
Well, you don't want to dwell on it. We're never going to see this again, not in 3 different sports. You'll see a great basketball program come along somebody's. You won't get the same core group of kids win in 3 different sports, state titles, and what they've done. So I know people have heard us talk about it for a long time. I'm just still kind of mesmerized by it or mind-boggled because I don't get it to an extent. I do get it, but I don't get it how this is possible to happen. So we'll see what happens in softball, but the beat rolls on down there, at least for another month and a half before, that's gonna be a bittersweet goodbye for them down there.
Fastest season though, spring, right? Gone in a heartbeat, especially with Mother Nature playing like she is. Pat, what do you got? Closing thoughts?
You
Not
know,
really a rant, a possum rant, but something
I know.
close. Come on.
we got to really talk about the Warriors going after the Bulls' 72 game record, and I personally think they're going to get it against the Grizzlies. And I saw an article on ESPN today saying that a lot of these teams, the great teams, had that one star. We've never seen, since the Bulls, a team have so many good stars being able to play together. Thompson can run his own team. Draymond Green, he's one of the only big men I've ever been able to see who can actually run the point. He can bring the ball. It's amazing to me. But just seeing this team dynamic, not that the fact that they got 72 wins, seeing a team of stars playing together like this and having the opportunity to set an NBA record that nobody thought was going to be able to be broken by anybody. I have to give them a lot of credit. I think they're going to get it, and we're seeing some really nice history here in the NBA this year. And they're making basketball fun again. We're watching the NBA sort of drag them away.
I think so.
Now they're making it fun again to see.
And only because it's the same night. I mean,
Yes.
I've never been a big Kobe fan, but let's give him his due.
Yes, we have.
He goes out Wednesday night and.
Or it's just amazing how it lined up like this.
Well, you're just kind of listening, and the 73 is probably going to trump Kobe's
Yes.
final.
Kobe.
Kobe, he's probably going to trump Kobe's final night, but he's had a terrific career. There's just not much you can say, but we should acknowledge that. I mean, he's just been really
Good stuff. Yes. Well, the man behind the camera, the man on a mission, John Bongiorno, your Board of Education member in Litchfield, taking care of your students for many a year, tells me it's time to wrap up the Litchfield County Sports Show. I want to thank Mr. Wilson and Mr. Higgins for joining me tonight. And with that, we will say goodnight, Mr. Wilson.
Aloha! 2 months to Litchfield Road Race.
Not even 2 months.
Not even 2 months.
Coming up.
There we go.
Say goodnight.
Good night.
Aloha.
Awesome, Johnny.
Nice job, Johnny.
Thanks, kid.